Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the RepPath Podcast. Today we have a very interesting show because I know this comes up every day. I have reps reaching out to me who do not have sales experience but want to break into medical sales. And I get the question all the time, can I break into medical sales without sales experience? And the answer is yes. We'll get into that and talk about some of the skills and some of the approaches that many of you can take so you are standing out over reps that do have sales experience. But before we get into that, guys, as always, any questions from this moment on, please make sure you submit them right into the chat and we'll address them about halfway through the show. Secondly, for all you candidates out there that want to break into this industry, please go on RepPath.com and sign up to the RepPath Academy. All right. So I know a lot of you are frustrated getting ghosted by hiring managers, getting ghosted by recruiters, searching jobs every week, connecting with people, but not going anywhere, getting the automatic rejections from many different companies, never even getting to the point where you can get in front of a hiring manager. Believe me, guys, I know how frustrating it is. That's what we do at the RepPath Academy to help you break in and eliminate all those challenges that you're having. So go out there, check our website, what you can see on the screen now. Go down to our testimonials. You could see the other reps that we've helped break into this industry. Also could see tons of the other companies that we've worked with to help reps land jobs. But please go on the RepPath Academy, sign up. If you need further information, you could send me a DM to get more info. But we'd love to have you guys join up on the Academy. And lastly, if any of you want to see this recording or anything else that we produce, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, the RepPath Academy, so you can go on there, get all the content, and be able to see whatever you want to see. Okay. Other than that, James, I think we're good, right?
We got everything, Joe. Just waiting on the sweet movie reference of the week.
It's coming. It's coming. Again, I can't just give it to you. It's got to be natural.
I know.
Ask for it, now you're not going to get it. Now my mind's not going to work that way. You threw me off. But no, guys, just to dive right in. Okay, we're gonna focus about how to get into this industry without sales experience. And one of the first things I want everyone to do, especially if you've never been in medical sales, and I challenge you guys to do this because I guarantee 99% of you are not doing this right now. I want you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. All right. And I'm sure you heard that shit before. People say it all the time. You got to get comfortable with getting uncomfortable, but it's really true in this industry. But what does that mean? And the first thing I want all of you to do today, I want you to do it after this podcast. You might not have time if you're on the East Coast, but I still want you to give it a try. Start tomorrow if you can't get out there today. I want you to start calling on doctors' offices. Get dressed in a suit, get dressed in scrubs, business casual. I don't care what it is. Go out there and start calling on doctors. All right. So one of the easiest ways to do this is pick a company or a product that you're going for an interview. All right. Or at least attempting to get an interview. I want you to go to one of those offices. If it's an orthopedic product, go to an orthopedic surgeon's office. If it's cardiology, go to a cardiologist's office. Call on that doctor. Call on those list of doctors in your town or in your county, all right? And go in there and try to get time with them. First off, guys, you're going to see how hard this is. But if this is what you want to do, why not go out there and do it? Why not this is what I talk about being comfortable, being uncomfortable. You guys have to get used to this. So I know if I'm interviewing two different people and one rep, he's both, I'm assuming, going to do the research on the company, the background. They'll reach out to a couple of people, but the ones that really stand out go that extra mile. And I've had this happen with candidates where they went and attempted to sell the drug. I just had this happen a few months ago. A candidate went in there, went to try to sell one of the drugs that she was interviewing at one of the companies. They sold 3 different products. So she went to sell one of them. Okay. And it was a pain related product. And she actually got rejected. I think it was 10 or 12 offices in a row. No one would see her. And then finally, one of the receptionists said, you know what? Yeah, you can wait in the hallway. The doctor should be coming out in a minute. She was floored. She didn't know what to do. Now she actually is going to see a doctor. So she actually tried, she told that she was very straight with the doctor. She didn't make up and say, I currently work for this company. She said, I'm interviewing. Here's the product that I'm going to sell. Just want to get your feedback on, why you like or dislike the product. And she asked the doctor questions. The doctor gave her a couple of minutes, told her what he liked, what he disliked, and then she went on her way. But she was able to share that during the interview, her next interview. That hiring manager was so blown away that she had the initiative to go out there and do that. She never had medical sales experience. She actually didn't have any sales experience, but she had the guts to go out there and do it. And guys, that's the majority of this job. Of course, it's much more complicated than just that alone. But if you have that courage to go out there and just have a conversation with the doctor, that is a big part of this, because it's intimidating, guys. When you first get out there, you're going to see a lot of offices. They're going to reject you left and right. They don't get excited when they see you. And I'm going to give you a movie reference, James, but this isn't really an analogy.
What do we got?
I'm sure you've seen Love and Other Drugs.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
Okay. So Jake Gyllenhaal in the movie sells Viagra. And I was in the industry when that came out too. And I could guarantee you, I didn't sell Viagra, but I know the way doctors reacted to it. And it wasn't the way they do in the movie. In the movie, you see him literally getting samples and throwing them out to his offices. And you got doctors, staff jumping up and down, trying to get samples of Viagra. I mean, obviously that's ridiculous. That does not happen in real life. I'm going to give you a real movie reference later, James, but if you've seen that movie, it's complete bullshit of what really happens in these offices. For a while, these guys do not want to see you guys. Okay. They have a pissed off look on their face. The receptionist has already been hit up by 15 reps that morning. They're busy with patients. Their computer system went down or whatever internal problems they're having. And now they got another rep coming in there to talk to the doctor about another product, about another drug, so don't be surprised if they don't welcome you with open arms, guys. So this is one of the first things, though, that I want you guys to learn is you're going to get that rejection. All right. You're going to get it over and over and over every day. Okay. So why not get out there and get that experience, guys? You have to learn what that's like. You can talk all day long about how you can handle rejection and you have tough skin and thick skin. It's all nonsense. They don't want to hear that. But if you can go into an interview and start talking about your experiences, even though you don't have sales experience, you don't care. You weren't afraid. You didn't have to wait for someone to teach you what to do. You just went out and did it. That's the kind of individuals that they want on their teams, guys. They want individuals that are going to go out there and make stuff happen. That's what it shows the hiring manager. All right. So that is an important skill to show. You're not here to just talk all day. And this is what reps do. While I don't have experience, they open up every email that way. Or they'll talk to me, while I've never sold before. They keep talking that way. And it's in like a defeated tone. It's already admitting you don't have a certain skill. Don't do that, guys. You've all sold before, whether you realize it or not. But the simple thing you can do is go out and get that experience today. Show them that you've tried. Have the tough stories, the rejections about what you face, because you might get in front of some of these doctors and then the doctor is going to tell you, you know what, that drug sucks. Or, you know what, that device, I think it's garbage. Okay, why is it garbage? What are you currently using? If you could go into an interview getting that intel and sharing it with the hiring manager now that you're showing them they're already a part of the team, you want to be a part of this. You're not just going to get info and then just blurt out all the things that are wrong. You're trying to figure out solutions too, because this is what a sales rep does. They get in the field, company trains them, and most of these companies do a great job with the training, guys, but it's never what the reality is in the field. Until you get in the field, you have no idea. They can teach you as much as they want about the product and what doctors are going to say. And they do a good job, but you're going to get out there and go, wow, this isn't the same that what I learned. Or doctors don't talk the same that they do in real life. So you're going to have to share that real experience. That's what's going to help get you ahead. So that's the first point I want to make. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. The only way to really do that is to go out there in the field and go speak to these doctors and see how challenging it really is when you're out there. And you're going to learn firsthand. And then when you share that with the hiring managers, I guarantee you guys, this is going to impress them. They're going to love it. All right. So start there. That's the first lesson of today. Next, you got to treat the sales process, treat the job search like it's a sales funnel. Treat it the same exact way. Hold on one second, guys. I got a partner here that's giving me a little problems in the back. Give me 1 sec.
Oh, Miguel's acting up.
Yes.
Bring him on the show. He's the star of the show.
This is
look at that little man.
It's driving everyone crazy in the background. So I apologize, guys. You might hear him.
Little foofball.
Yeah.
He's so cute. He's such a cute dog.
Sorry. I don't know if you guys can hear him. He's crying in the background. That's why.
Not really. We heard him once.
Okay. Well, he was going to get louder and louder. Anyway, so treat the job search like it's a sales funnel. You got to look at it the same way and talk in that lingo. You got to talk the talk too when you're speaking to reps, when you're speaking to recruiters and hiring managers. This is the way sales reps talk. Okay. They don't just say, I'm applying to a ton of jobs. I've been looking for months. I apply all over the place, but I haven't had any luck. All right. That's not a sales rep's mentality. A sales rep has everything broken down, where they know how many calls they make each week. I'm making 60 to 70 calls every week. I have maybe 20% of the time do I get time with doctors. So I'm having, 10 to 15 conversations. Out of those 15, I made 3 sales this week, which resulted in, $100,000 in revenue. I'm making stuff up on a fly here, guys, but that's how they speak. So the same thing, I applied to 15 jobs this week. I heard back from 6 of them. I got 2 interviews booked, and I'm in the second interview with one of the companies. Start thinking like that, like it's a sales funnel, right? This is a way that a salesman talks. Start talking like a salesman. Start treating it this way. Because I'm telling you guys, the more vague you're with how you're approaching this, because they can ask you that. Have you applied to any other companies? They sometimes when you get more specific, when you're walking through this process and you get more specific, that's what they're going to hear. That's what they want to hear when they're asking you how your territory is doing. You're not going to say, yeah, I've reached out to a ton of doctors and I'm just not hitting my number. No, how many doctors have you reached out to on a daily basis? How many of those, do you have breakfasts or lunches or schedule meetings? And out of those, how many have contracts or proposals in front of them? If you don't deal with contracts and proposals, how many verbal commitments did you get? How many cases do you have booked? All right. This is what they want to hear. And then they want to hear the results. You have 5 cases that resulted in X amount of dollars. You sold 50 prescriptions to that doctor last month that resulted in X amount of dollars, but they want to hear all the data. All right. So start thinking that way. Stop saying I applied to a bunch of companies, have an Excel spreadsheet, because to be honest with you guys, you shouldn't apply to so many jobs that you don't even remember. That's a bad sign. Spray and pray is bad. Get that out of your minds, guys. So for anyone that says to someone, oh my God, I've applied to so many jobs, you're doing it wrong right off the bat. You have to be more specific. And we're going to get into this in, later in the show, but be more specific. Stop going after and applying to every job. I want you to be more specific. Look at the jobs first and see, are you qualified? Is it an entry-level role where they're not requiring a year of B2B sales experience? Because there's a lot out there. So stop just applying to anything and everything. It doesn't work. Know what you're applying to. Know where you are in the process. Know the be able to talk to someone and intelligently say how many jobs you applied to, how many interviews you actually booked, how many offers you've gotten. They want to see all that. You should know all that, guys. If not, you're doing it wrong. That means you're doing too much and you're not being focused, where you could really advance in these interviews. And we'll talk about that more too. So again, treat it like a sales funnel, not just a job search. So another thing that's important in these interviews, guys, and this doesn't matter if you have sales experience or not, being confident is a good thing, okay? But crossing that line to arrogance, and this happens a lot, the reason why that's a problem, it's not so much as nobody likes someone that's arrogant. Sometimes that confidence and arrogance, kind of is like a gray area. And you start to respect someone that has that confidence. But more importantly, you need to show that you're coachable. All right. Be willing to have that, don't have your guard up, that you know everything. Know-it-all reps, no one wants to hire a know-it-all rep, guys. They want to hire someone that's coachable. So say that during the process. None of us are perfect. I'll give you an example. Stupid question that I hate that they ask during interviews, but it's a good way to show that you're coachable and you're always working on yourself. When they ask, tell me about your any weaknesses you have, or what are your 3 biggest weaknesses? And then people give the bullshit answer and go, well, I care too much. I work too hard. And, I'm too focused on my job. Like, all right, guys, that's nonsense. Don't give the real strength, but turning it into a weakness. That's actually a great reference, not a movie, but Michael Scott does that in The Office, which I'm sure you guys love out there. Great show. But don't be corny and give that stupid answer. But it's okay to talk about something that's not so much of a weakness, but an area that you're working on to improve. So I love when reps do that. That's the answer I want to hear. I want to hear someone say, well, one of the areas that I've been working on this past quarter, is my patience, or my ability to respond quickly to emails from my manager. I mean, some of these things, great reps, they're not perfect. A lot of times great reps are dumpster fires when it comes to admin work, and these are things they have to work on. So, but always show that you're working on something. When they ask you about a book, you could be reading a book that's self-help, that for any area in your life you're trying to get stronger at. Me personally, I made a commitment to myself this next year to learn Spanish. I don't know anything, and living in Miami, that's horrible because it's basically the first language down here. Everyone speaks Spanish, but that's something I'm working on. That's something I'm weak on right now. But pick something that you're going to improve upon and show them that you're coachable, because that's what they want. They want to see someone that is willing to improve because they can work with you. If you're a know-it-all, I don't want you on my team. I can't do anything to help you. You're perfect. So why would I want you on my team? I want to help you grow with this company because the more you grow, the more I'm going to grow. So you have to talk in the terms of being able to be coached and willingness to grow. So you got to verbalize that in the interviews, guys. It's very important. Nobody wants to know it all. Next is you got to follow up, guys, like a sales rep does. All right. You're going to hear me say this over and over, that the interview process is a sales process. It is, guys. At the end of the day, instead of selling a product, you're getting a job offer. All right. And that's one of the biggest sales you're going to get, because when you sign on to make 100+ base salary, OTE of 250 to 300,000 with a car, all these things that, bells and whistles that come with the job. I mean, that's amazing. So that is one of the biggest sales you're going to make is when you actually get a job offer. So why wouldn't everything else fall into a sales process? When you're networking, when you're prospecting, just like when you're trying to reach out to doctors, during the interview process, we make it non-negotiable. They have to speak to 3 sales reps or individuals that work at a company whenever they apply. So that doesn't mean every time you apply, 3 people are definitely going to listen to you. It takes a lot of work. it's hard to accomplish. Sometimes you might have to reach out to 30 people at a company multiple times to get 3 to respond. This is the same as when you're in the field. So you don't just say, I'm going to work with these 3 doctors because I like them and they're busy. Yeah, everyone likes them and everyone wants the busy doctor. So everyone's going after a lot of the same people. So sometimes you have to reach out to 50 doctors to get 3 people using you. So you got to approach this the same way, guys. Treat it like a sales rep. So if you have to get on the phone with 3 people before this interview with a manager to learn more about the process, the company, how the manager's style, all that stuff, then you have to reach out to more people. You have to have the right messaging that goes with that, just like you do during a sales call. You don't go in with the same boring messaging if it's not working. You have to change it up. When you're speaking to these reps, you're learning from them. You're asking a lot of questions. You're not getting in there and just telling them why you're a great rep and that moving on. You need to find out about the role, about the challenges, and then insert why you would be a good fit. Because what have you done in your background that would make you a good fit? And this is what makes the reps that get offers to the reps that get passed over. Because it doesn't matter what their background is. They show those transferable skills, or they show those situations that they've been in and they've excelled in, and then show that they can do it again here too. So you have to approach it with an open mind, probing, asking a lot. You need to learn about your customers' key drivers and then sell to those drivers. And you got to be doing this during the interview process, because I'm telling you guys, they can tell the difference. If you're calling people up and just asking about info, what else can you tell me about the job? And then also not showing throughout the conversation on why you're a good fit and how your skills, complement the role, then they're never going to get back to you. All right. And they might not respond for a couple of times reaching out to them. You have to keep being persistent, guys, till they tell you, don't ever call me again. You're annoying the shit out of me. I don't want to deal with you. You keep chasing after them, guys, because you want to get in front of them. And I'm not saying you do it in a desperate way, but you want to get them on the phone because you want to learn more and improve to them why you're a good fit. So it's not going to come easy, guys, but you got to have, it's not supposed to be easy, because trust me, they're always evaluating you, because if you can't sell yourself through this process, then why should they hire you to go out there and sell every day for them? Just realize that. If you're not convincing enough during the interview process of why you're the best fit, then that's why they're not moving forward. So don't take any step like it's too easy. And that leads me into when you reach out to people and start networking. A lot of you take it as, well, this is more information I'm trying to find out. This isn't the hiring manager I'm speaking to. So I don't have to get too crazy speaking to this individual and really put on my best performance. No, guys, that's the wrong attitude. You have to treat every individual you speak with like they're the decision maker. They're responsible for giving you a job. They can give you a job offer that day. You have to act that way, guys. So don't go into any of these conversations very lackadaisical, very shooting the shit type. I'm not saying you get in there all intense and intimidating, but you're still there to show them that you are a great fit for this role. You're going to see a lot of them go, well, I don't make any decisions. If it was up to me, yeah, I think you're great. You still don't want to go in there like, well, this guy, he can't help me. Hopefully he can get me an interview with the manager. If not, I'm not going to get too worked up over speaking to this individual. No, still treat this individual like they are the final decision maker. Believe me, guys, you never know. So you always got to treat people that way. So always be on your best, no matter who you're speaking to, because that's going to help them relay the message to the hiring manager, be another person in their ear to say, this guy's good. He may not have sales experience in his background, but he convinced me that he's the best rep because he talked about all his transferable skills, that he was able to handle a lot of the challenges that we have, in his previous role. Believe me, this is how people impress people so they get offers without having that sales experience. All right. Next, you got to be more focused, guys, in the roles you're going for. Okay. Now I'm not sitting here saying that, here's my point. If you're one of the people that say, so what are you doing? Yeah, I want to get into medical sales. Well, what field? I don't care. As long as it's medical, I don't care. I just want to get in. Now, it's okay to be open-minded, but if you don't have reasons, and there should be different reasons of why you want to get into pharma versus device. I mean, these are two completely different jobs, guys. At the end of the day, yes, you're talking to doctors, and yes, it's about patients. But if you've done both of these and you could tell me, I can't even tell the difference, they're both the same job, wow, you're clueless. Okay. They're completely different jobs. So you might want to get into pharma, for the clinical discussions that you have with doctors every day, and versus device for more hands-on work experience where you're working physically looking at the patients every day and having a hand in the surgery side by side with doctors. Okay. These are big differences. So my opinion, guys, is the more focused you can be. Now, when I say focus, that doesn't mean that you're not going to take an opportunity to break in the industry when an opportunity comes to you because you say, oh, no, sorry, Joe, it's cardiology. I only deal with neurology. That's the only place I want to be in. No, but I would rather see you guys be more focused. For instance, if you're trying to break in, focus on distributors, focus on device, focus on durable medical equipment, DME. I mean, these are areas where they let reps come in without sales experience. Now, don't get me wrong, sales experience definitely helps, but these are some of the areas that when you're more focused in, focus on the areas that they typically will hire someone with your background. Be laser focused there. Don't reach out to one or two companies there and then focus on 80, 90% of your time on pharmaceutical companies when many pharmaceutical companies won't hire a rep unless they have a 4-year degree and have at least 1 year of B2B sales experience. Now, I'm not saying that some don't out there, some don't or will hire right out of college. I'm sure there are, but majority of them don't. So why would you focus there if you're not even a fit? Focus on those areas like distribution, like DME. There's a lot of diagnostic roles out there where if they like your personality, like the way you sell, they're not handcuffed by all the red tape that some of these bigger companies have. Sometimes they're a lot smaller, mom and pops, where you can get roles. But my point being, be more specific, really learn about that specific role, know it inside and out, have those conversations with those reps. But along the way, your goal is to learn more about that role, that territory, that hiring manager, know what their drivers are, but you're showing them that you can provide solutions to those challenges based on what you've done in your past. If you worked with difficult customers, you could be a customer service rep. You could be a waiter. You could be a teacher who had a difficult student or a difficult parent you had to deal with, and how you were able to work with them, and help them achieve success when they were pushing back, when they were challenging. It's the same thing you're doing in sales, guys. So don't think you have to have these sales roles, but if you can relay those stories that relate to what the challenges are in that job and show how you were successful in the past and how you'll do the same here, you're going to start getting job offers, guys. So it's very, very important. This next piece of advice is really, really interesting because I love when reps are able to do this. And I challenge you guys to do this today. Okay. And that's reverse engineer the job posting. All right. So for instance, number one, stop spray and pray. Stop applying to 50, 100 jobs out there and thinking people are going to call you back. For all you guys doing this, I hope you're successful, but I can guarantee the majority are not doing this approach. You're probably getting ghosted a lot or getting that automated message back via email or text or whatever it is, however you applied. Okay. So what I mean by reverse engineering, okay. First off, start looking at the actual skills that are required for this role. Read the requirements, guys. A lot of you do not do this. All right. So make sure you're reading all those requirements. Copy that job description down. And then I want you to break it down like a sales call. All right. And what do I mean by that? They're asking for these different things. They're asking what college you went to. They're asking if you have a hunter mentality. Do you live in this area? Whatever it is. Now start selling yourself, and practice how you would sell yourself for that role. So because the bottom line, one of the takeaways from this is if you can't sell your background on paper, then you probably won't be able to sell that in the field. All right. So be able to sell yourself, for that role. Look at what they're asking for in the requirements, and then break down how you're a fit and what you've done in your past to be successful in this role. If you can't verbalize that, you probably shouldn't apply. Quite simply, I live in the Boston area. I've already have experience, changing people's, or whatever it is, working with challenging customers as I've done in my exposition, doing XYZ with whatever parents that I was dealing with at whatever school, whatever the situation is. Show your transferable skills and how you've done this in the past, but you got to reverse engineer exactly what they're looking for in that role, and then be able to verbalize how you would sell yourself for that role. Because if you struggle doing that, or if you start with while I don't have sales experience, while I don't live in Chicago or Boston, while I stop talking about all the things you don't do or don't have, go head on what they're asking for. Tell me how you have those skills and show me how you've done it in the past. That's simple, guys. If you can do that, odds are you're going to move to the front of the line or stand out from the other candidates that you're going up against. So try to do that. Look at a role, reverse engineer, and try selling yourself for that role. Next is very important. You want to build a medical sales resume, okay? Not just some career resume. And there's a difference. What are they looking for with medical sales? They want to see results. All right. Now, a lot of you, I talk about the top 4 things that they want to see. Now, these are specific to sales. All right. So for somebody that do have sales experience, they're going to want to see rankings. They're going to want to see percent to quota. They're going to want to see your growth, and they're going to want to see awards. Those are the top 4 they want to see. But say you don't have that, you still got to talk in metrics. All right. You still want to be able to show them that, you were able to build relationships, explain or deal with a complex issue or challenge that you had, and how you worked with multiple departments or multiple personnel to achieve a goal. You have to do all this in medical sales, guys. It's very important. So if you could talk that way, then you'll be able to show them that you could do this job. You don't have to have that sales experience to be able to do that. And for instance, I have an example here. Instead of saying I worked as a medical assistant, this is what happened. I worked as a medical assistant, and that's it. They don't expand upon that. And here's the right way to talk about it. I managed daily interactions with 30 to 40 patients while coordinating physician workflow and education. That's much more impactful, and that shows metrics. It shows measurables where it's not a sales rep, it's a medical assistant. But look at how different the 2 answers are. Which one do you think is more qualified to be a sales rep at my company? Who's going to impress me more? The guy that says, I've worked as a medical assistant, or the individual that's talking about working with 30 to 40 patients a day, focusing on workflow and education of patients? I mean, that's the individual you want. So you have to be able to describe that in that way, as opposed to, talk like a sales rep talks, talk in metrics, talk in results. That's what is impactful for these hiring managers. I'm going to do one more, and then we'll dive into some questions. This one I really like. Practice selling without selling. Okay. What do I mean by that? So You're going to hear all the time, while I don't have sales experience, get that out of your vocabulary. Stop saying that, guys. It just goes on deaf ears, or it automatically turns off the listener you're speaking to. All right. So what I want you to do, I want you to introduce, pick a product in life that you believe in. It could be your I don't know, say your treadmill at home. Pick that. Pick something that you're interested in and try selling it to somebody. Pick any product. See how you sell it. See how your approach is. Do you just go in there and say, by the way, I have a great treadmill that you would love. You should really try this. And it really helps you go really fast and you can lose weight. And you just go up to a person, just start saying that. They're going to be like, whoa, what the hell are you talking about? Actually, I already have 2 treadmills. I don't know why you're trying to sell me one. So start working on how would you probe someone? What kind of questions would you ask? Get to learn the sales process. Pick something that you're interested in. Guys, believe me. I mean, it could be your favorite cereal. It could be your favorite pizza that you get. Talk to someone about it and practice that. See how you can sell something that you know inside and out. I mean, I know my favorite pizzeria is by me. I mean, feel like I know just as much about them as the owners do because I'm in there all the time. So I feel I'm very confident in selling them. But again, you don't just go in there and be like, my favorite pizzeria is, Joe's or Bob's. No, you got to go in there and start probing. So start trying with products that you already know inside and out and practice with someone how to sell. If you can't do that, guys, then don't even bother trying to get into this industry. You got to sell. That's the whole purpose of getting into medical sales. It's not just treating patients and having intelligent conversations with doctors. You're selling. So start working on the products you know, and then see how you can do that. Because in a lot of these interviews, the good reps can take situations and show how they took those same skills and how they were successful. And it wasn't that typical, I got a contract that was worth X amount of money, true sale. Again, like the teacher working with a parent, that was difficult. Show how you navigated that different challenge. Maybe you sold a program to that teacher or to that parent that can help their student. Maybe you sold services about, say, a psychiatrist that can help this student because they have a lot of challenging mental issues or whatever is going on. But the whole point is practice selling on something that you know, because it's going to help you. You need those skills to be good in this industry. So I'm going to take a little pause right here. James, any questions from the crowd?
Yeah, we got a couple, but you probably had a really tough sell trying to sell somebody pizza down in Miami, Joe. There's no good pizza down in Miami.
Buddy, I said that. I was the biggest advocate that nothing compares to New York, New Jersey, the whole Northeast. I got to admit, man, more and more newer pizzerias are coming down here that are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, I still think New York and New Jersey still have the best, even, Connecticut, all that. But
I don't believe it. Everybody said that. Everybody says that. It's not.
Come down. Come down.
You must be living in Miami too long. You gotta spend some more time in this frozen tundra that we have in New Jersey.
You're never going to get invited by me. So actually, you know what? You're never going to experience it anyway. So
nope. I don't want it. I don't want your Miami pizza anyway. We got Robert DiLorenzo LinkedIn. I've been asked in a couple interviews, how do you stay organized? Do you keep these type of answers simple, or is it more important to elaborate?
Well, I think that's a great question, and I think specifics are very important, but you don't want to bore them with so many details that you go on a tangent with some long answer. So it is very important to be specific about what your daily routine is. Because a lot of times you will get that, what is, your daily routine? What do you do every morning to prepare? What are you doing before you meet with a physician? And you'll get this in ride-alongs. And I was one that I flew by the seat of my pants when I first started. I just went from office to office. I wanted to get there in and out as quickly as possible, because I knew we had a lot of places to call. I had no game plan. When you don't have a game plan, that's a bigger issue. So definitely get specific, but when you practice your answer, see how long it is. And if you're talking, if it's one question and you're talking about it for 5 minutes, that might be a little longer than what they're looking for. You should be able to describe, your process with, say, your daily routine or whatever it is, or how you stay organized was your original question. I mean, you should be able to explain that within a minute or two, I would think, because, I don't know how deep you can get into that, but again, give specifics. Talk about the times that you wake up. Don't say I get up in the morning. Say I get up every morning at 6 a.m. Walk through your day. Don't say I get up and I work out. I get up at 6 a.m. I work out from 6:15 to 7. I answer emails from 7 to 7:30. Then I'm at my first office by 8:30 that morning. And then you could talk about the rest of your day. But that's the kind of specifics I like to hear in terms of what someone does in their daily process. So be specific, but don't ramble on is the answer.
All right. We got Jake from State Not Farm. Everybody talks about the grind, but nobody mentions how long that grind actually lasts before you're making real money. What's the real timeline?
There is no real timeline. I mean, anyone that says, I know everyone likes answers, so I'll give you answers. But again, you guys can't hold me to this because it depends on the company. Typically 2 years, individuals spend from 0 to 2 years as a clinical specialist, sometimes longer. I know some clinical specialists that they stay that their whole career because that's what they like to do. And I know some clinical specialists that have been doing this 5-6 years and just the opening hasn't come up in their area. So, but I think realistically, 2 to 3 years where you'll go from being a clinical to a territory manager. And that's where the money, typically changes drastically, because a clinical specialist will be making anywhere from, on the low end, 80,000 to say 130 to 150. And they usually kind of peak out again, depending on certain companies, they could pay more, but that's usually the range. And they're fine making 150,000 a year without having to deal with a number, without having to deal with all the stress that comes along with having that number. And then there's individuals that want to make 300 plus a year. And that, again, that's going to take a few years if you ever get there, because some reps never even get there. So the short answer is, I think realistically, it's 2 to 3 years. But again, that's to become a sales rep, a territory manager. If you want to be a manager or a director, then it could be much longer than that. So it depends on what your goals are, what exact monetary amount you want to make every year. It really is a tough question to answer, but to give you the simple answer, 2 to 3 years.
Okay, we got Jim Bro 4721. I sell gym memberships and fitness packages right now. Is that a laughable experience or actually transferable?
Fantastic experience. One of my good buddies, we laugh to this day. I hope he's listening. Actually, he could be listening, but I remember going to meet him out for happy hour years ago. It's almost 20 years ago. And I saw him on the streets of New York outside of a sports club and yelling to people to come in and try their 2-for-1 giveaway. He had a wheel that would spin outside. I mean, he looked like one of the guys on the boardwalk, but he was selling memberships and people loved him. He had personality. He got people to stop, spin the wheel, laugh. He would tell stories to them. They, would talk about working out and, he was always fit. So everything was still, going along that tough sales process that we have to go through in medical. He was doing everything that a medical sales rep had to do, but he was doing it on the streets of New York, which you get every possible type of customer walking by. People can yell at you, spit at you. I mean, they could say anything, but he got that experience. And to this day, he's one of the most successful people that I know. It's very impressive where he started to now owning and running companies, and I shit you not, he started selling gym memberships and now he literally owns multiple companies in medical. So it's a fantastic way to break in. At the end of the day, no matter what you do, your goal is to be the best at it. That's the medical sales rep mentality. You want to be number one. You don't want to just be in the top 10. You want to be number one. So if you're selling gym memberships, I would want to know what I'm ranked. I want to know how much I did, the business I did yesterday, because I always want to improve upon that. Whatever I'm ranked, I want to get to number one. So have that mentality no matter what you're selling, but that's a great way to start. James?
Sorry.
Okay,
DeMarco Kendrick, I have he followed up similar question. I have been in real estate sales. How is that for experience considering it's not B2B?
yes. So the reality is with real estate sales, I think any sales role can help someone become a good medical sales rep. Now, companies aren't going to always say the same thing. There's a lot of companies out there that don't recognize real estate as sales experience. I disagree. I'm just telling you what a lot of the companies think. They want individuals that are going into offices or buildings in a true B2B face-to-face sales approach. And that's why a lot of times with real estate sales, people are coming to you. You know, you're not exactly going into someone's house saying, by the way, I have a house for sale that's 3 blocks down, and then selling them on it to get them to go look at that house. No one does that. A lot of times you're on the MLS, they post the house, they post the contact info, they can go to different trade shows and events to get their card out there. They do open houses to get people to come in, but most of the time you're not going to the customer. That's what they want to see. So any sales role where you are walking in and you're not wanted to be there and you're trying to get the decision maker to buy your product or service is most closely what they're looking for in medical sales. That's the kind of experience you want to try to duplicate. But that's not saying that if you're doing, real estate sales, get out now. No, you still want to show though how your transferable skills will make you a good sales rep. And they do 100% want to see your rankings, want to see your growth, your percent to quota, your awards. If you guys go in there and just say you generated 10 million in volume last year, nobody gives a shit. They don't know what that means, guys. So if you say to them, you were ranked number one out of 30 reps in your company or 30 realtors in your company because you sold 10 million in real estate sales. Okay, now that means something. But a lot of realtors, when I look at their resumes, they put how much they generated. I want to see what you were ranked, because 10 million could be great or it could be horrible. So if I see what you're ranked, now I get to really see, how you really did. If you were given a quota of 10 million and you achieved 15 million and hit 150% to quota, now that's impressive. But again, if you just say I sold 15 million, I don't know what that means. So you got to put it in perspective, guys. So when you're working on that, again, that's what we do at the Academy. We work on optimizing your resume. These are one of the things we talk about. So reach out to us. We could get you set up to get your resume optimized first, so it starts talking in the metrics that these individuals want to hear.
We got Giselle Newell over on LinkedIn. I previously worked in medical sales at an international level. What skills are most important for having a successful career in medical sales in the U.S.?
Well, it doesn't matter internationally or the U.S. The sales, the skills are the same of what they're looking for. And so it's not so much. I mean, one of the skills that I look for, there is that ability to adapt in challenging circumstances. It's not about thick skin. I don't look for people that just tell me they have thick skin or they can take rejection. When I hear that, I get a little turned off by those answers. I want to see how you were able to navigate a difficult situation and get in front of someone. So one of the biggest challenges in the US, and I believe it's everywhere, because I work with reps internationally too, and they say a lot of the same challenges. One of the biggest challenges is access. You'll see me do a lot of posts on access, and I do that for a reason, because it's one of our biggest issues. It's not about thick skin. If a doctor tells you no, that's awesome. that means that doctor is speaking to you. That means you can come back and try again. You don't just get one chance. A lot of these times, guys, you go in there multiple times, which is great about our industry. But what do you do when the doctor won't see you? So the person that can relay a previous story of how they were able to navigate that situation, working with someone that wouldn't see them, trying to sell someone that wouldn't see them, you got creative, whatever you did, and you could relay that information to me and how you got in front of that person and were able to sell something to someone that didn't want to see you. That's what I care about. That's the kind of creativity that I want to see. That's what I want to hear about. So it's not just so much as I want reps that are transparent. I want reps that are hard workers. Those are, to me, are all prerequisites. Everyone should have that. I want something deeper. We get so many people that even want to sell for the RepPath Academy, which we offer. And we don't just hire anyone, guys. You got to have a lot of those skills, that, again, the prerequisites, the hard work, the grit, but I want to go a little bit deeper because that's what it's going to take to be successful in this role. So one of the things is being able to handle those challenging customers that won't see you. Think of that today. What have you done in your life to speak to someone that never would speak to you, that wouldn't get in front of you, and you were able to get a message across? That's something that every hiring manager is going to want to hear.
We got Lexington. What question should I be asking them in capital letters that shows I'm serious and not just another resume in the pile?
One of the questions, that's a great question. We get that all the time. One of the questions I like, because I like the way it's phrased, especially towards the end of the interview, when you're already meeting with this hiring manager, one of the key things that I would tell everyone, come in with prepared questions. Have them written down, pen and paper, have that down in your folder before you even get in there. Because you should be doing enough research between speaking to other reps, between researching on YouTube, online about the products, the cases that are involved, whatever the challenges are, you should have a lot of questions and you should write those down. But also you should be writing down questions in the interview because there should be things that come up. So you always ask them, do you mind if I write down, take some notes during this? 99.9 are going to say absolutely not. You could write down whatever you like, So you also want to have other questions that should be coming to mind during the interview. But one of them that I love is, towards the end of the interview, when you're trying to evaluate if you're a good fit, straight up say to them, if I get this role and 6 months or a year has passed and I'm crushing it, I'm crushing my number, what did I do well? And the reason why I like this, it's already putting you in the frame for, like, you already see yourself in the role. They are visualizing you in this role. You're showing and telling them that you want it, number one, but now you're saying, all right, picture me in it. Now you're saying, if I'm crushing my number, because you're already thinking you want to be the best, you want to blow your number out, but then give me the tips, give me the secrets of what do successful reps do. It's another way of asking, what do your top reps have in common? What are some of the skills they have in common? But you're asking it differently, picturing and positioning yourself as already a high performer in that role. I love that question. I love the way it's phrased. So that would be one that I suggest you all ask because I think it works really well on many levels.
All right. So Jewel Cooey, I guess is how you say it. I got laid off from Pharma 4 months ago. How do I explain the gap without sounding bitter about my old company?
Well, because the way you do that is you focus on the future and not dwell on the negatives of the past. We're optimistic and dwell and spend more time on where we're headed, than as opposed to focusing on those negative little blips in your resume and your background in the past. So you definitely don't want to spend 10 minutes on how your company screwed you and how you really should have never gotten laid off and your manager had it for you since day one. He was a real son of a bitch. Guys, no one wants to hear that. If you're going to talk about them, they know you're going to talk about this company too. They're not going to go anywhere near you, So you quickly go over, challenges. Unfortunately, the company lost funding. So we were all laid off 4 months ago, but it was a blessing because now it enabled me to be in front of you today for a role that I'm a excellent fit for because of X, Y, and Z. Or even though that was, a challenging time, thank God only in a couple of months, I'm able to refocus my efforts into, the orthopedic field or whatever you're trying to get into that day. So be short and brief with your answer or explanation about the negative, and then spend more time on how that has made you who you are, which brings you here today. And let's talk about, it's basically the way any politician answers it, guys. I mean, they follow, they're salesmen. All these guys are salesmen. If you haven't realized that by now, you should. Every politician is a salesman. They might not have the exact sales experience in their background. Believe me, what they're doing is selling. So every one of them has something negative that the competition is talking about. They don't sit there and dwell on that negative. They touch on it, good ones address something. They're not completely full of shit, but the good ones address it and move right on to the future. And it's about today and what the future holds. So that's the way you handle it, guys. Short and sweet, but move on and focus on the future and the optimism of that, whatever future role will be.
All right. I think I got two more for you, Joe. Kiki in the city. I keep hearing get your foot in the door with an associate's role, but those jobs pay like $45K base. How am I supposed to survive on that in a major city?
You figure it out. That's my answer. Work 2 jobs, work Uber at night. I mean, I would do whatever it takes to get in. So their first job, they're not going to care that you live in New York City or whatever city you live in. And then they're going to have a payment increase, a cost of living increase because you live there. It's just, they used to do a little bumps with companies depending on where you live. But that, for the majority of them, that shit is gone. But you're not going to ever get, I mean, for me, I think to live in Manhattan, you need $300,000 a year minimum to actually live because it's so expensive. So they're not going to just hand out $300,000 jobs because you live in Manhattan. So for me, I would do something else that doesn't conflict with that job. And if it's driving Uber a couple hours a night or whatever it is, do that until you can make enough money in this business. But if you want this, guys, the biggest takeaway I could tell you, if any of you want this, realize there's lines of people that want it just as much or more. And I say that not to scare you. I say it to motivate you. Don't go in with this half-ass mentality that this would be cool to get into this industry. No, guys, you have to say, I really want it. I will do whatever it takes. And then that would be your story later on, that when you first got it, you had to work Uber 6 hours a night, overnight, and then sleep 2 hours and then go to your first case. I mean, these are stories that people do. Don't make it, well, it's only 45,000 base. I can't live on that, so I'm out. Good for you. You're out. Trust me, there's 50 other people that want that job. So you got to think that way. Do whatever it takes. Figure it out. If it's working another job that doesn't conflict, it's okay with your company, then do it. Outwork everyone else until your pay gets up to the level you need it to be.
We got, so Amanda asked another question. Amanda. Amalang Maccabi, I guess is how you say it. How do I navigate the question about salary expectations when the company has no available data online about their salary ranges? I wouldn't want to make any reference to my current or past salary.
Well, you don't have to mention what your salary is. A lot of companies want to know that, and I agree. You don't have to tell them. In my opinion, it's what do you think I'm worth for this role? What's the role pay? Because typically the role has to be in a certain range, 80 to 100,000, 90 to 120, 90 to 130 base, and then they'll make a determination on what you're worth based on your experiences, based on what you brought to the table during the interview process. But if you don't have any possible way of finding out before the interview what a job pays, it can't hurt to go on that interview unless you're so busy with other opportunities. But I would be a little concerned that there's absolutely no information on that. That doesn't seem like a very reputable place. If there's nothing, they're not giving you any info, and they're looking for someone that I would assume is just entry level. I mean, it's very fine to ask that on the first interview. Typically, I'm not for talking about salary on a first interview, but that's what individuals that have a good idea going into it from a recruiter, from an HR personnel, what the range is at least, but if you have no information, then I would, why do you really want that job? And if it's something that you're selling or an area that you're selling and that you love so much, then then explore further, but the only way you're going to find out is by having a conversation with someone. Then have that conversation. But I think that's going to be few and far between. I think most roles, you're going to see that they have it posted online, because I know as on a recruiting end of our business, I don't want to post something unless I can put some sort of range, because I'm going to waste people's time. And I don't want to do that, because I don't want everyone and their mother reaching out to me too. I want to make sure it's a fit for you.
Joe, do we have time for one more, or do we have to wrap up?
Yeah, one more is good.
All right. Jennifer Liu, currently working for a small distributor, making decent money, but no name recognition. How long should I stay before it's enough experience to jump to a major manufacturer?
Well, I mean, it's more than that. You need to, how are you doing there? Are you happy? I mean, are you happy selling what you're selling? Are you happy doing what you do every day? I mean, that's the most important factor, guys. Now, I get it. If you're not making the money you want to make and you've been there, a while now, but I would focus on that first, as opposed to just automatically thinking about jumping. But if you haven't been there for at least a year, then don't leave, because most companies are going to be concerned by that. Most companies don't want to see you leave. I mean, the rule of thumb is 2 years that they want to see out of company, so you don't look so much of a job hopper. Because believe me, guys, that everyone wants perfection in their job, and it doesn't exist. It's very rare, to have perfection. You can love certain things and hate certain things, but I would evaluate that first. But if you're truly asking me, the real answer is at least 2 years, definitely not less than a year that you want to be there. But more importantly, how are you doing in your results? If you're low ranked, if you're not hitting your quota, if you're not growing, where are you going? Why should someone hire you then? But if you're doing all that and your company's not rewarding you the way you feel, and you've had open conversations, okay, then now it's time to move on. But I would worry about where your performance is first, because you got to take those rankings and that criteria to your next company. And who's going to hire you if you're not, achieving that success? So focus on that first. But again, to answer the original, the rule is 2 years, definitely not less than a year.
That's all I got for you today, Joe.
All right. Well, that was great. And I'm sorry I didn't give the movie reference didn't flow this time. So I was giving just movies but there wasn't a real flow. So I'll take that back. It wasn't that good today with those. But again, I thank everyone for joining. I thank you guys for the questions. Again, guys, please, I know I say this every time. If you're trying to break in or you're looking to advance in your career, join the RepPath Academy. Go on RepPath.com, to learn more about the process and get signed up. Okay. We will help you break in. We do this every day. We just had another individual, I can't release it yet because he's finalizing an offer, but he had 4 offers it got up to 4 offers. And he was only with us 2.5 months. He was doing fantastic. He's an outstanding individual. We're going to have him on one of the shows once he gets settled in, but he's an outstanding candidate, but 4 offers all at once. And so that's the position I want to see the rest of you guys in, where we have difficult decisions to make on which company we want to go for. But please look that up. Please get signed up. Again, please go on my YouTube channel or the RepPath Academy to get this content and all other future content. Just go on, subscribe. It's free, guys. It's a great way to get some free content, because I know a lot of you guys like a lot of my posts. A lot of you reach out to me, say you're following me, which I truly appreciate. But here's an easier way too. You could see a lot of the content at your own leisure. Lastly, any individuals that are a member of the lobby, please give the promo code Licata, Licata. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, and submit that when you're asking about signing up for the Academy or any other services that we provide in terms of training, so you can get additional discounts. But other than that, guys, thank you again for joining us. James, thank you as always. And I'll see you guys at Wednesday at 3 p.m. Have a great week, guys. Take care.